Good evening. It's good to have you join us. This is the news at 7 on NTA International. We're live in Abuja. I'm Ruth Aguela. Let's start by bringing you the headlines. Senate condemns adoption of students from school in Katsina State. Task security agencies on quick rescue mission. Nigeria's Apex Institute meets political actors on party ideologies and national interest. Plus, United States Electoral College affirms Joe Biden as president-elect. Seventeen out of the missing 353 abducted students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, have escaped from the hands of their abductors. Well, this was confirmed by the Director General Media to Katsina State Governor Abdul Labaran Malum Fashi in a telephone interview with our correspondent Shehu Adamu. We don't have that report ready now, but we'll definitely bring it to you in our subsequent bulletin. But in a related development, Senate has condemned the recent abduction of some students from the Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina State, and called for an expeditious rescue mission by security agencies. National Assembly correspondent Ignish Sunkwo will tell us more.
For more than 2 hours, senators were engaged in yet another cycle of intense deliberations on security. The recent abduction of some students from Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina State, was the focal point this time. Senator Bello Mandia moved the motion, which highlighted the many security issues in Nigeria and called on President Muhammadu Buhari to consider and implement the recommendations of the Senate Ad hoc Committee on Nigeria Security Challenges.
If no immediate action is taken to rescue Kankara schoolboys, their fate may be sealed in the hands of terrorists. Yesterday, armed bandits were roaming the street of Tagina, and Beji is just about 20 kilometers to Mina.
Why can't we seek for help outside? Let us come up open and seek for help.
Security concerns continued with Senator Abubakar Kyari, drawing the attention of the Senate to the attack on the IDP camp where Nigerians are camped in Niger Republic, which led to the killing of 37 persons.
Urge the federal government to send, as a matter of urgency, medical and emergency relief materials to the victims of this attack, to return our displaced refugees in other countries.
The situation has come to a head, and I believe that when situations reach this level, this crescendo, the solution is nearby.
Senate thereafter passed the Finance Bill 2020, which seeks to update Nigeria's tax laws to be able to address economic challenges posed by COVID-19. This is sequel to the consideration of the report of the Senate Committee on Finance, which recommended the amendment of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act for automation of its operations. Senate is to investigate alleged loss of 1.2 trillion naira accruable to the federal government due to breach of 2000 to 2001 fiscal incentive package by Sinopec Adax Petroleum Company. The Nigerian Peace Corps, Nigeria Hunters Council of Nigeria Establishment Bills, and the 2021 FCT Appropriation Bill of 299.9 billion naira passed second reading. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Well, as the Buhari administration is working hard to improve the security situation in the country, the All Progressives Congress wants the nation's security agencies to dig deeper and do better by ensuring that students can go to school safely and learn across the country. APC Chairman, Caretaker, and Extraordinary National Convention Planning Committee Governor May Malabuni in a statement says there is no greater harm that insecurity can do to a nation than to destroy its education and the future of its youth. The APC believes that the security agencies have the will, commitment and training to restore public confidence in their ability to secure the lives and property of Nigerians. APC assures Nigerians that it will continue to work with the federal government, security agencies, governors, community, traditional leaders and other stakeholders to address and improve the security situation in the country. victory and pray that the ongoing efforts to free the abducted GSSS Kankara students will be successful. Let's look at bilateral ties. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has received the United Kingdom delegation on trade, which are in the country to discuss Brexit, among other issues. The discussions around improving relations between Nigeria and the United Kingdom across different sectors, especially in the post-Brexit era, as the Vice President noted, will make a difference for both countries. The Vice President observed that the COVID-19 era offers an opportunity for Nigeria and the UK to adopt innovative ways of addressing challenges facing both countries, noting that education, capacity building in the judiciary sector, among others, are important areas of interest to Nigeria. Leader of the Prime Minister's trade envoy to Nigeria, Ms. Helen Grant, said the visit to Nigeria was a deliberate effort by the British government to deepen conversations with friendly countries across different sectors ahead of Brexit. She said, aside trade, both countries can work harder to strengthen ties in agriculture, health, technology, judiciary and other sectors, expressing her country's interest in ensuring that Nigeria records improvements. As part of efforts to improve the democratic process in Nigeria, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies is meeting political actors and stakeholders in the democratic process in Abuja. Austin Ayimbe reports that the dialogue centers on political parties, party ideologies and national interest.
Political parties serve as vehicles for electing leaders in any democratic society. This therefore means that the formation of parties, structures, internal constitutions and manifesto are important to the development of democracy. The gathering here, which is aimed at conducting a diagnostic review of political parties in Nigeria, also seeks to examine how they can galvanize national interest.
The consequence of this has been the absence of issue-based political campaigns, national cohesion, and inclusion that rest on the fulcrum of national interest.
Stakeholders at the meeting maintain that political parties in Nigeria must be inclusive in their ideologies and ensure that every citizen is carried along in the electioneering process.
The significance of the political parties is not limited to elections, though, but also play a critical role in resolving contentious political issues and setting policy directions and alternatives for government and the society.
We are working hard to change the phrase that you already know, the phrase that says free, fair, and credible election. We've added one more word: inclusive, free, fair, and credible election.
Nurture them, build their capacity as agents of change in terms of consolidating Africa's democracy for good governance and economic prosperity of our people. So in Sierra Leone, it is the same values we promote.
The roundtable is convened by the Political Parties Leadership and Policy Development Center of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS. In Abuja, Austin Ayimbe, NTA News.
In the United States, we hear that senior Republicans accept Joe Biden as president-elect after the Electoral College affirmed his victory. Adebola Brooksland Sunday takes us through the U.S. electoral process and the next steps after the affirmation.
When Americans go to the polls in presidential election, they are actually voting for a group of officials who make up the Electoral College. These people are electors, and their job is to choose the president and vice president. They meet every 4 years, few weeks after election day, to carry out the task. The number of electors from each state is roughly in line with the size of its population. Each state gets as many as it has lawmakers in the U.S. Congress, with California having the highest, 55, while North Dakota has the least of 3. On November 3rd this year, Americans went to the polls to cast their ballot for the man who will serve as U.S. president for the next 4 years. At the end of the exercise, it was victory for Joe Biden of the Democrats after polling 306 electoral votes, defeating the incumbent Donald Trump of the Republican Party, who polled 232 electoral votes. President Trump had sought to challenge the election results legally and with political pressure.
It's amazing how those mail-in ballots are so one-sided, too. I know that it's supposed to be to the advantage of the Democrats, but in all cases, they're so one-sided.
The results of the election, which began with Vermont's electors, will be sent to Washington and tallied in a January 6 joint session of the Congress, which will be presided over by Vice President Mike Pence. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
The coronavirus pandemic took the world like a storm, halting everything and leaving bitter taste in the mouths of billions of people the world over. From the economy to social and even politics, the virus changed the world. Well, just while vaccines are being introduced to prevent such experience, a second wave is spreading across the world, and the impact, experts say, may be more deadly. Uche Ugochukwu looks at a violation of preventive guidelines by Nigerians despite the rising figures.
It's a typical day at the neighborhood market in Area 11 Garki, Abuja, with hustling and bustling of people engaged in one activity or another. Like many here, Ibrahim Lawal missed this atmosphere when the lockdown was imposed as a result of the coronavirus a few months ago.
I guess we don't like it at all. We don't like a more lockdown again.
But Ibrahim, like almost everyone here, is not adhering to the protocols that will prevent another lockdown. He neither wears masks nor observes the other preventive measures. Now, Nigeria is said to be experiencing a second wave, and until the protocols are observed, people here and other places face the risk of contracting the virus.
We are ready to carry 3 at the back, 1 at the front. But so many passengers, if you tell them the price, they cannot pay.
Even at places of worship where high sense of obedience is required, safety protocols have been neglected, despite the clerics being part of those who drew up the guidelines.
This one is attitude for human being. You know, different people, different understanding. So you cannot say everybody you must understanding 100%.
What is happening in the wider society is also affecting the church. But then, as the leaders, as the vanguards, religious leaders who are conscientious, we keep educating members of our congregations to know that hand washing, face mask wearing, or face shield is very essential.
Already, some states are recording high figures, with some governors going into isolation. The PTF has repeatedly cautioned against complacency against the virus and insists on strict compliance with the COVID-19 protocol. The likes of Ibrahim may not like the inconveniences of the protocol, but it's far better than the devastating consequences of COVID-19, which affects all aspects of human endeavor. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Well, a report says the first public COVID-19 vaccines reach all states in the U.S. as death toll tops 300,000. This is just as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration okays safety and efficacy of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. Justin Bemunyi gives us the global news.
The first doses of an FDA-authorized COVID-19 vaccine have been delivered to all 50 states in the U.S., as well as the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, less than a year after the disease was first spotted in that country. Operation Warp Speed, a public-private effort, developed the Pfizer vaccine in less than a year, an astonishing feat since most vaccines take years to develop. U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams called the rollout of the vaccine tremendous. Meanwhile, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration appears to be on track to authorize Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine this week in the same process used to evaluate and issue emergency authorization for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. In the meantime, reports from Kenya have cited health ministry officials confirming that the African nation has ordered 24 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines. Reports say the Kenyan government will spend 10 billion Kenya shillings, equivalent to $89 million, for the vaccines. In the meantime, global confirmed cases of coronavirus now surpass 73 million, as 73,347 cases have been confirmed in Nigeria, according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC. In other news, the federal government of Somalia has cut diplomatic ties with neighboring Kenya. It has recalled all its diplomats from Nairobi and given Kenyan diplomats in Mogadishu 7 days to leave the country. The announcement was made by the Minister of Information, Usman Dobi, on state media. Thanks for watching.
All right, let's go on a break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Thank you for staying with us. The United Nations has appealed to world leaders to declare a state of climate emergency in their countries until carbon neutrality is reached. Secretary General of the organization, Antonio Guterres, said this during a virtual meeting on Climate Ambition Summit 2020. Adebola Brooks-Lynn Sunday reports.
There cannot be doubting or denying that the world is facing a climate emergency, with the past decade hottest on record. Antonio Guterres said carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are at record levels and still rising, adding that storms, fires, floods, and droughts of uncommon forces are now all too common and devastating.
Pandemic recovery and climate action must be two sides of the same coin. The two tests of leadership today is to show climate ambition, take climate action, mobilize climate finance, and demonstrate climate solidarity.
For Guterres, the world needs concrete action right away to get on the right path ahead of next year's UN Climate Conference, COP26 in Glasgow.
We need still to be able to have a much stronger mobilization of the business community, the financial sector, the asset managers. We are moving in this direction. There are good signals. We look forward for a very active US leadership in climate action from now on, as the US leadership is absolutely essential for our goals to be reached.
The UN scribe said by early next year, countries representing 2/3 of global carbon dioxide emissions and 70% of the world's economy would have made strong commitments to carbon neutrality. Adebola Brooks-Lynn Sunday, NTA News.
The Social Intervention Program of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, will draw beneficiaries from across the geopolitical zones of the country. The Commission said this during a budget defense session with the Senate and House of Representatives committees on telecommunications. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that House Committee on Insurance is also holding a public hearing as it works on amending the Insurance Act 2003.
The Social Intervention Program of the NCC is a job creation strategy in the digital space which involves acquisition of skills. The Commission, while presenting its budget proposal of 162 billion naira for 2021 before the Joint Senate and House Committee, says the job creation strategy is a spillover from 2020.
Capital expenditure 17.031 billion and total special projects 34.493. Our commitment to the yearnings of Nigerians in meeting their expectation of service delivery is our driving force.
In another development, The House Committee on Insurance and Electoral Matters is holding a public hearing as it works on amending the Insurance Act of 2003, a legislation it describes as out of tune with current realities.
The prescribed fines are stated in pound sterling instead of naira. Also, the amount stated as fines in various laws are grossly insufficient. Some provisions prescribe something as low as 2 naira and 5 naira respectively.
Stakeholders at the hearing include National Insurance Commission, Nigerian Insurance Association, and Council of Registered Insurance Brokers, among others.
This effort, it should set us on a veritable path to be able to improve our contribution to GDP, improve the achievement of the financial inclusion targets that the federal government has set.
Among areas of proposed amendments are claim settlements, enforcement of compulsory insurance, and implementation of risk-based supervision. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Buhari Media Organization has expressed worry over alleged collaboration by some Nigerians with the Amnesty International to disregard ongoing post-EndSARS investigations. National Coordinator Ni Akinshiju, during a press briefing at the BMO Secretariat in Abuja, urged security agencies to be alert to the antics of some foreign bodies who, rather than use their coalition for the purpose of galvanizing Nigerians to survive the negative impact of COVID-19, are only interested in frustrating government's genuine intention.
We have reasons to believe that this investigative panel, which they intend to run parallel with the state's judicial panel, is nothing short of a charade paid for by Amnesty International and Transparency Initiative to smear the image of the Nigerian army with contrived testimonies. We invite Nigerians to see how some of our countrymen have descended to the level of dragging their own country for wads of dollars, and advise Nigerians to reject these enemies of the nation and their self-serving mission.
The media organization has appealed to the people to explore the open platform of the judicial panel to prove their claim of massacre at the Lekki toll gate. The national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has made a case for engagement of youth in security forces to ensure lasting peace in the country. He made the call while commiserating with the government and people of Borno State over the killing of rice farmers in the state. Mohammed Goni has more to tell us.
The rice farmers at Koshepe village of Mapa local government has spurred national and international condemnation, with experts and stakeholders offering a wide range of recommendations to avert the reoccurrence of the incident. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu believes that recruiting the youth into the military, police and other paramilitary establishments is the only way to stop the youth from falling into the hands of the insurgents.
We've seen the reaction of the federal government. We've seen the reaction of the armed forces. This is no longer a conventional warfare. This is more tactical, more reasoning, more crude.
The APC national leader described Governor Zulum as a courageous and talented leader who took the responsibility to see to the end of the insurgency and assured him of his support at all times. Governor Zulum thanked the elder statesman for the solidarity and condolence visit.
We remain grateful to you for all the support and empathy that you have been showing, you have been rendering to the good people of Borno State.
The governor also appreciated the words of wisdom and encouragement of the elder statesman, which he explained will take the state and the nation forward. In Maiduguri, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
The role of the media as a viable tool for informing and educating the public on the dangers of drug abuse has been re-echoed. This was at an interactive session with the media on national awareness on drug abuse with the theme, Drug Abuse Can Kill. A session organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. Augustine Isaac is only 14 years old, but he's already conscious of the dangers of drug abuse. For him, This self-consciousness has helped him stay focused.
I've seen someone who used to take drugs and today is not behaving normal. He's behaving like a mad person now.
This interactive session with the media as agents of social change, organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, is to promote more awareness on the dangers of drug abuse, especially among the youth population, to reduce the continuous abuse of drugs and its devastating effect on the society.
The effect of drug abuse is detrimental not only to the individual, but to the society as a whole. Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is also mandated to formulate and implement humanitarian and social policies, to also initiate programs and activities towards improving living standards of the target groups to ensure a society devoid of drugs abuse.
The media is encouraged to report helpful and accurate information to bring about the desired change to curb the growing trend of drug abuse in the country. Right, let's talk sports. Dominion Cup discovers budding talents for national teams in Lagos. Olumide Guntela has sports update for us.
About 32 teams participated in